Alright, we're going to go through how to install a PicoCell on the QP10, which incorporates solar power to the QP10. Our first step is to get all the equipment. So we have the Meyers pump, the PicoCell, SunTech drive, and we're going to need a disconnect switch. First step will be to take off the cover of the QP10. To do this, you need to find the right size drill bit for the screws. The convenient part about the QP10 is all the screws are the same. So once you find the right 1/4 inch drill bit for the screws, you can start taking the screws off. There, again, are 2 screws here and here, and comes off pretty easily. Once the cap is off, you can look inside and you can start to see the places where you'll be connecting the wiring. There are different terminals. You have a terminal here, you have a grounding terminal. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be bringing in the cable here. You'll be needing a 4-wire cable to come through here. So go ahead and find a 4-wire cable. So for the pump cable, it's best to use a round cable. I could only find a flat one here in the warehouse, so I'm going to demonstrate with a flat cable, but in the field, because you'll be passing the cable through a cord grip, it's important to use a round cable so that it can grip securely. As you can see, there are 4 wires for this 3-phase connection. You'll have black and yellow, green and red. So first step is to pass the cable, the cable wires through the cord grip, and pass the wires through the hole in the pump. Go ahead and tighten the cord grip onto the pump. You have the 2 main terminals. We'll be putting black here and the yellow wire here, and then we'll be bringing the green wire up to the ground. There's not a lot of room inside, so you got to be careful. Make sure that you're choosing the correct distances when you cut and strip your wires. We'll be using these nut connectors. So you want to make sure that you have your yellow wire on the first connector, your black wire on the second, and then your green wire coming up to ground. Next, you're going to connect the red wire from the cable to this red wire back here. In order to do that, you need to remove this gray piece. We're going to remove this red wire by pulling on it. Got to be careful, as it is a little tricky. Next, what you're going to do is cut here and strip and splice it to the red wire here. When connecting these 2 red wires, it's important to use precaution, as you don't want these leads to touch any of the metal frame of the pump, because this can short circuit the pump and damage it. So use a lot of tape, electrical tape, when doing this splice so that it doesn't short out the pump. After you have spliced your red wires, go ahead and tuck it away. As you're placing these wires, it's important to note that the central piece of the pump is spinning, and so you don't want any wires near this, or else it'll get caught and damage the pump. So keep the wires on the outside so that this is not inhibited. After you've connected your red wires, you'll want to return this piece to its position and screw it back in. You're going to want to make sure that this selector switch is on 230 volts and not 115. So in summary, your three-phase cable, you have your green wire going to your ground, your black and your yellow going to these two connecting nuts, and then your red wire connecting to the red wire in the back. Once you've completed this, you can return the cap to the pump. Next we'll be talking about the PicoCell. The PicoCell acts like a C200 in that it takes the solar power and gets it to the pump. You'll be installing the pump cable into this first cord grip. You can install a tank level or level switch in the second cord grip, and you'll take the solar power into the third cord grip. We recommend using an IO50 disconnect switch for your DC power. So you'll have two solar wires coming in, your positive and negative, and then you'll be having a jumper cable from your IO50 into your PicoCell. It's very important to verify with a multimeter your positive and your negative from your DC array. Sometimes those get switched, so it's important to take a multimeter and check which one's positive and which one's negative. For the sake of this video, I'm going to assume that white is positive and black is negative. The PicoCell has a mounting bracket on the back, so you can use that to mount it to the wall. And the lid to get inside is these handy screws that you can take off by hand. On the inside, there are mounting screws, so you have your pump cable that comes in, A, B, C, and you have your PV positive and PV negative, which are your solar wire. Over here we have an on-off switch. We want to keep it in the off position until we're finished installation. And then there are these three little dip switches over here. The position of the dip switches is important. Make sure that the first one is pushed to the 230 volt position. The second one is pushed upward to the single phase position. The third one is pushed downward to the 60 hertz position. Next we're going to bring in our pump cable into the PicoCell. Let's go ahead and take your cable and pass it through the first cord grip. So as you can see, you have your yellow, red, black wires from your pump cable and your positive and negative wires from your solar panel. You also have your two ground wires going to the grounding nuts here and here. I would advise putting the grounding wires in first because they're really crowded and it's hard to get them in after you've done the first installation of the wires. If you are bringing in a level switch into your second cord grip, you will ground them the first two terminals on the right side. So you have terminal 1 and terminal G. These two will be for the level switch. After you've completed bringing in the wires, you'll turn on the switch. You'll put the lid back on. Once you connect your solar panels, you'll have these lights illuminate. So you have your solar light. Once your solar panels are connected, this will illuminate, and if there are any problems, you'll have a warning light illuminate here. And this is the basic wiring for the PicoCell QP10 safe water system.